Hey guys, how's it going? I wanted to quickly go over this glass cannon mage build that I've been using, and I want to point out that this is just base game, no DLC at all. I will do a DLC updated video when I get to the DLC and play through it, but for right now I just want to focus on base game, so if you're starting to play the game, you can just grab these talismans and these items and stuff. I don't want to show off DLC stuff if you're just going to start the game. But the first things I want to talk about is the talisman, because I feel like that is the most important part of any build, because it's kind of what just really creates the build. And the first talisman I use is Godfrey Icon. This is going to enhance your charge spells and skills. Since I'm not using any skills because I'm only using staffs, it's going to enhance our charge spells, which for us would be Comet, would be Night Comet, anything that you have to hold the attack button to charge up basically will get a 10% buff from Godfrey Icon. The next is the Magic Scorpion Charm, which is just a flat 12% buff to your magic, I believe. Hopefully I'm not wrong on that. And then it makes you take more damage, but since we're doing a glass cannon build, we're one shot anyways. So us taking more damage doesn't really matter when we get one shot by anyone that has a weapon who does not like us. So this is really good for the build. I would keep this as a permanent talisman. I wouldn't really ever change it because the buff is just really good. My next one is Ritual Sword Talisman, which is going to increase our damage by 10% while our HP is max, and seeing how we are one shot, our HP is basically always going to be at max. So might as well just run this, just get a 10% damage increase so we can just do more damage, which is always a good thing. And then I'm running Radigan Icon because faster spells means faster DPS, and which means you have a quicker action time out of casting your spells. It's just really good all around. Would recommend this all the time. Just Radigan Icon is very good. Other talismans that you can use if you don't want to use one of these four, I would recommend you can use Graven Mass Talisman. I personally use Graven Mass Talisman instead of Godfrey Icon when I am using Carrion Slicer or Adula's Moonblade, because Godfrey Icon doesn't buff that. So if I'm in a boss fight where I'm just mainly using those two, I will put on Graven Mass Talisman just to make me do more damage with those, because that's my only source of melee since I'm only doing spells only. Another one you can put on is Green Turtle Talisman, which recovers your stamina faster, which makes it so you can keep spamming your spells. In the early game, I used this a lot until I got my other talismans, but this is also a great choice if you want to just kind of keep your stamina at a constant, so you're not always in a position where you're out of stamina because you've been spamming your spells, so you can keep dodging. But those are the talismans that I would personally use. You can switch them around however you want. That's what I beat the base game with, and what I'm going to go into the DLC with is the 6 talismans and switch them around however accordingly to what boss I'm fighting. Next, I want to go over my stats. So, as you guys can see, I am level 120. I think I'm going to finish this character at level 175. So, in the update video in the DLC, I'll probably be 175. But I'm not planning on going any higher than that. But for right now, I'm 120. My vigor is 9. Mind is 40. Endurance is 24. Strength is 10 because Lusat's staff requires 10 strength to wield, or I wouldn't have put any points in that if I didn't have to. Dexterity is at 12, Intelligence is at 76, Faith 10, and Arcane at 18, so I can use Oracle Bubble because it's actually a really good spell, and I feel like a lot of people really don't take advantage of how really good it actually is. Those are my stats. Obviously, you can change them however you want, according to however you want to play. If you want Intelligence at 80, at 120, you can not pump Arcane and just pump Intelligence as much as you want. I'm planning on stopping Intelligence at 80, and then I'm going to keep going into Endurance and Mind so I can get those up, because it's nice to be able to spam your spells. Next, let's go over the staff that I'm using. So since I'm not using weapons, I'm using Lusat's Glintstone Staff in my right hand, plus 10. Best scaling in base game, makes your spells do more damage, but it does raise your FP cost, which is fine because we're just pumping mind anyway instead of health, so we're going to have enough mana to be able to just keep spamming our spells anyway, so I don't really think that's a big setback, and the damage that you get is huge. I have 3 staffs in my left hand, each of them buff a different spell that I use. I have the Carrion Regal Scepter to buff Rainy's Dark Moon when I use it, so I will swap to that in my left hand and then activate Rainy's Dark Moon to get the damage buff. Then I have Carrion Glintstone Staff to buff my Carrion Slicer and my Adula's Moonblade to make me do even more damage with those, so I'll swap to this when I'm using those spells. And then I have Staff of Loss to make my Night Comet do even more damage when I am using that. Also, just really quickly, want to go over what I'm wearing. All I have is the robe and the witch hat, which makes me do more ice damage, which makes my Adula's Moonblade and my Ice Rag do even more damage which is why I'm wearing this, and I think this outfit just looks really nice. If you want to farm the robes, I farmed it in the Raya Lucaria. I believe it is the schoolhouse classroom or debate parlor graces. You kind of just spawn there and kill a guy that's walking around there. Obviously, if you have higher arcane, it's going to drop faster. I think it took me like 20 times to get one. I got kind of lucky, and my arcane was booty at that time. Pretty lucky I'd have to sit there all day farming it. But let's go over my flasks. So I have 11 cerulean tears because just refilling her mana, and I have 1 flask of crimson tear, and I'll explain why I actually have 1 flask. It's because in my flask of wondrous phisick, I have the bubble, which means I can basically tank 1 hit without dying, but it does make me take damage, which means I wouldn't be at full health anymore, which would mean that I would lose the Ritual Swords Talisman buff that I have from Ritual Sword Talisman. So I would use 1 flask of Crimson Tear to bring myself back to full HP to get the 10% damage buff back on me, so that I can keep getting that damage out, which is why I have 1 on me. It's not because I'm going to survive any attack without the bubble. It's just for when if I do get hit while the bubble's active, I can get that 10% buff back. So that's why I have that. And then I want to just show you guys what spells I'm mainly rocking when I'm roaming around. So I have the Carrion Phalanx. Mainly I use this for when there's multiple enemies. I use this to kind of zone off a little bit, because they'll go after one, which will kind of hit them with a stun, which will give me enough time to then cast Adula's Moonblade, which has a far-reaching melee attack. So I use the Carrion Phalanx for that. I have Glintstone Ice Rag just for far-ranging ice proc, because there's sometimes you don't want to get close to people, or you just need 1 more but don't want to get into melee range. But I really enjoy proccing the Frost on effect on people because it makes them take more magic damage, which is nice. Terra Magica is pretty self-explanatory. If you have time to set up on any boss, that's just really nice. You can do the Kamehameha, or you can do the Comet, Night Comet. It's just going to make you do a lot of damage. Rainy's Dark Moon is also, I believe, just like a necessity when doing Mage stuff. Number 1, it's buffed by the Snow Hat because it's ice. Number 2, when it hits something, it gives it it makes its magic defense lowered, so you're going to do more damage overall, which I just find is very nice. And I want to talk a little bit about Great Bubble here. It is actually so good against enemies that when you're casting a spell, they'll dodge. Because it's so slow, they'll dodge, and then they'll still get hit by the Oracle Bubble because it's still so slow. So like Melania, whenever you cast something, she'll prematurely dodge because you think it's going to be fast, and she'll just keep walking towards you, which gives you a bunch of time to keep setting these up. You can get like 2 to 3 off before she even makes it to you, which you're going to do a ton of damage with because they're so strong. It's a charge spell, which means it's going to be affected by Godfrey Icon, and it's just all around so good. The next one is the Night Comet. Self-explanatory, it's charged, so Godfrey Icon affects it. Does a ton of damage, buffed by Staff of Loss. All around very good. Comet, you could probably take off Comet since you have Night Comet on. I just haven't thought of another spell to use, but I have Comet on in case, because why not? I don't know. Carrion Slicer, probably one of the best spells in the game. You can just get up in someone's face, spam it. It does so much damage, no mana cost. Base 4 mana, 6 with the Lucid Staff. Amazing. And then my personal favorite spell in the game, which is Adula's Moonblade. So awesome. Has the far-reaching slash attack, kind of like your Zoro from One Piece. And then just, it hits multiple times, procs ice. Just, what could you ask for more in a melee spell? Just perfect in every way, shape, and form. And it looks super cool. So that is my Glass Cannon Mage build for base game Elden Ring, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you try this build out. I had so much fun with it playing through base game. I'm going to play through all the side bosses, and then I'm going to go into the DLC and do the DLC, so I'll have at least 2 to 3 more videos out with this build, so hopefully you guys look forward to that. And if you do, make sure to subscribe so you can see when my videos are coming out, and drop a like on this video if you think you're going to try this build out. And if you have any builds that you want me to try out, like beating the game with, like maybe like Faith only or Bow only, or any fun builds that you guys might want me to see if I can beat the game with, go ahead and drop it in the comments below and I'll try those out too. But thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace out.